Welcome back to the Gracefully Wild Soul podcast. We're at the end of July, which is so wild to even think about. And that means that we're going to drop into the energy for the month of August because we need to just, I don't know, see and feel what's going to be happening in the next month because I do actually think it's going to be quite significant for the forward momentum for our society, for humans, for you, for me, for all of us. So I have some messages from the Akashic Records about the month of August and cards and crystals and some yummy things, but also maybe some things that feel a little, I don't know, off or weird. So let's just do it. Let's just talk about it. Welcome to the Gracefully Wild Soul podcast. I'm Kirsten, a mother and soul guide, and this is a space where your soul is witnessed and the frequency of your heart is felt. Together, we will have intimate conversations about the essence of life, the beauty of your soul's path, and our evolution as women and as mothers. Through channeled words, lived experiences, and the wisdom of nature's rhythms, the soul, and the sacred feminine, this is where the gracefully wild woman begins to rise. Well, when I dropped into the energy for the month of August, the initial messages and kind of imagery that I received was this grand flash of light. And it was like almost like a flash of knowledge, but also this flash of questions, question marks. And I actually wrote down humanity questioned and we will be humbled. And so there are going to be, I think, some moments in August where we are going to be having to look at our heart space, our most human aspect of ourselves, and how we navigate this middle world, this earth, and the material plane that we live in. We're going to have this moment in August where we're going to have to dig in a little bit and we're going to have to connect to our humanity, to humanity as a global concern, as a universal concern. I think we can get very boxed in with our day-to-day lives and completely miss the fact that we are these beautiful, energetic beings that are living a soul's purpose, a human life on this planet. And this planet is in this massive galaxy, and this galaxy is in this massive universe. There's other planets, there's other life forms, light beings. There is energy that is outside of our, wake up in the morning, drink our hot beverage, get to our yoga class or our job or dropping the kids off, whatever it is. And so we can lose that perspective. So I think the month of August is going to reclaim that a little bit from us. And it could feel a bit harsh. It could feel a bit tense, whatever it is being reflected back to us in that moment. So just know that that might be kind of an overarching theme in the month of August. So I also wrote down that time will feel like it stands still. And it just brought me back to certain moments in my life where all of those concerns that I just rattled off, all of those things completely just faded away. And it felt like time stood still, like nothing was moving, but everything was moving so fast at the same time. And really that is that, I don't know, that interconnection that we have at all times. It's just that we can tap out of it when we're, again, head down in our human life and just charging forward. So I do think in August, we are going to have this presentation of something that comes up in our honestly, and I think in our collective consciousness and in our collective world, something is going to come up where we are going to have to stand still with ourselves. We are going to have to honestly really reflect on humanity and this heart space that lives deep inside of us. So, not to start the reading out with, like, I don't know, just all of that heaviness, but it is a reality. And I am here to bring you what comes to me. I'm not meant to reframe this in a way that's just packaged perfectly with a bow and say that everything is perfect inside of this present, because it's not in the way that society has told us perfection exists. So, yeah, that's my disclaimer. But in this moment, in these moments that we will encounter in the month of August, we will gather in a way that we have not gathered, maybe in a very long time, or maybe ever in your life. And there will be this deep connection of partnerships. I saw the synchronicity and the sharing of that heart space among humans when we are faced with deep challenges as a human race. And so there is a space for that in the month of August. And honestly, we need that. We need more of that. We need that connection, that oneness, that understanding that we are all in this together. Yes, we face these different little life challenges and ups and downs, and our circumstances look different and feel different. But ultimately, us humans, us souls, energetic beings, we have a shared existence. We have a shared purpose. And so these reminders are coming forward in the month of August. Okay, I also wrote, which kind of I already mentioned a bit with all of that, that there's this touch of the human experience. Really, like that soft, tender touch of the human experience is coming forward. And that means feeling the feels, my friends. That means riding the waves of chaos. That means understanding our true north, our why. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And not to say that those aren't like grand messages with like big implications, but what I wrote down was this is not the month to, I don't know, do the massive visioning for your life. It is the month to really anchor into your top 5 and take it day by day. Take it one step at a time. I'm going to tell you a quick side story, and hopefully I don't completely digress from everything that I have to say here. But when I was graduating law school, so just a few months before I graduated law school, my husband had a work trip to the Grand Canyon, and often I got to go along on these trips. And so he told me we're going on this trip, etc. And so I'm just thinking, oh, okay, we're just going on this trip, and I'm like the tag along, right? And I come to find out, I think like literally a week before we head out to the Grand Canyon, is we're not just like stopping by and going on like a tourist adventure. We are hiking down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon and back up again in 24 hours. Yeah, I was hoodwinked. It was definitely a bait and switch by my husband. I had no idea that that's what we were going to be doing. And I'm a bit of a over preparer. And especially at that point in my life, I was like type A preparer for everything. And so it put me into a tailspin, a literal tailspin. And, ultimately we did it and it was incredible. But I remember, because honestly, if you've never done it, you think that the hike up will be harder than the hike down. Not true. The hike down is actually much more challenging. And there's a lot of like physical reasons why that's the case, but also just environmental reasons, the way that the trails are set up. Anyways, what I did in that moment, because this was also like this moment of preparation to go study for the bar examination, was instead of looking out at this big picture of like, we're going to go all the way down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon and back up in 24 hours. It's going to be 100 plus degrees at the bottom. You have to pack in your water. You have to pack in, essentially your food and pack out everything. And it's hot and it takes hours upon hours of hiking on terrain that is a little sketchy at certain points. Instead of looking at that like massive picture again and like completely freaking out, I I was able to hone in on each step in front of me. If I can just take one step, one foot in front of the next, I know that I am moving. I know that I am accomplishing. I know that I'm going to get to my destination. And so, really, the month of August is focused on that one step at a time. It's not about this grand visionary period. It's almost like this recalibration of like what's in front of me and how am I going to work through that on a step by step, minute by minute, second by second basis, whatever it might be. So try not to get, I don't know, fixated on the grandness of what's ahead. Just stay focused on directly the step that you're taking in that moment. Okay, this might feel random, but I will kind of return back to it. A direct message was look for where the lilac grows. Lilac is a beautiful purple flower. And it just, to me, it felt like this reprieve. And I'll come back to the Grand Canyon story for a minute because one of the reasons why hiking up is actually easier is because there's shade. And so you're not in the direct sun, literally hiking in dirt, which is what the way down looks like. Um, you have some reprieve. You have these moments of shade and cover and vegetation to help you move, all the way up, back up to the top of the rim of the Grand Canyon. And so this message to me, it just looked like a reprieve. It looked like, follow that moment of reprieve and allow it to calm you, allow it to recenter you in the moments that we're facing in the month of August. Let's see. Expect some flops and fails. I don't know. This could look like so many different things, but that was what I was shown is there's just going to be some flops and fails in the month of August. And it's important again to be in that step-by-step mode and not to just throw up your hands and say, "Oh my gosh, it's all just a failure. Like let's just, move in the other direction." You might be pivoting, but it's not, again, that grand visionary pivot. It's going to be a momentary pivot. It needs to, I don't know, just unfold. And it's not a, ultimate failure. It is a momentary failure. And again, how do we even define failure, right? So just know that there's going to be some trials and tribulations, and it's your moment to work through it and to stay committed. Keep with that rhythm that you have. Okay. Oh, well, that was my next message. So there you go. I saw this person in a canoe and they were oaring forward. I don't know if that's the right word. Oaring, like you're using the oar. Anyways, you know what I mean. They're moving forward in the canoe. And this person, I didn't really have like, oh, I'm going from point A to point B. Like I'm starting here and then I'm going across. It was like they just knew and they just kept going, right? Rhythm by rhythm. And that's what I wrote, breath and rhythm. And maybe you notice if you've ever seen people that are rowing, like actual, those either on a team or in like the single rowing boats, they're breathing and moving. They have this rhythm. They're going forward. It's like ch, 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 right? Whatever it is. And so I just wrote this, message down where it's breath and rhythm. Stay focused each step, breath and rhythm. And that's how we're going to continue to move through the month of August. Where are you over invested? You know, to me, this felt like a overcommitment somewhere, like you have an energy leak and you're pouring too much into a place. And so you have less of your, I don't know, your divine energy to put into the cup that you need to fill, whatever cup that might be. And so just looking at maybe where you're over invested, that could be financially, that could be in a relationship, that could be in a job. Man, how many years do we go by just grinding away at the job, at the work, without even looking up, being like, oh my God, I am literally giving so much of my life and myself to someone else, to someone else's vision. So maybe you're over invested somewhere. Not sure. Relevance. Relevance is a question and an answer in the month of August. So coming back to that over investment, what is relevant? What is relevant to you, your life? The step by step process that you're in. Is your canoe taking on water and you're trying to put your finger in each of the holes, right? So focusing on the relevance. That's where we're at in the month of August. Um, there is going to be a little bit of a shakeout happening, and I think that's important. There'll be a bit of a distortion, a bit of a distortive view that's going to be presented, and it's going to be important to take yourself out of kind of your day-to-day bubble, your day-to-day environment, and gain a new perspective. And that's what's going to help you clear up this distortion. So, this could mean just checking out and like literally escaping to your favorite place for 24 hours, 48 hours. This could be a big trip where you really need to be somewhere else. This could mean taking those extra days of vacation. Whatever it might be, there is just this perspective that you are being asked to tap into by taking yourself out of the environment that you are currently in. Yeah. Okay. So, coming back to what I said earlier in the reading, we are focused on what's in front of us, like what's immediately in front of us. And so what I want you to do is to focus on 5 things. 5. And I want you to write the words out or, cut out the pictures. Whatever it is that works for you, if it's a visual of a picture or a word, and put them in the space where you're going to be reminded of them. And that could be just, revamping that vision board. That could be putting it at your computer. It could be putting it by your mirror. It could be having something on your phone. But we want to keep anchoring into these 5 things as we move through the month of August, because there is going to be this topsy-turvy type of energy that's happening. Also, side digression. I don't know if you've seen Mary Poppins Returns with Emily Blunt, but there is a character in there that's like the psychic, the kind of visionary, and it's played by Meryl Streep, and she's so funny and goofy. And there is this scene where like literally the ceiling becomes, the floor, and the floor becomes, and I think she says topsy-turvy or something along those lines, but she has this like funny accent. Anyways, I was just taken there. So if you haven't seen that movie, it's really cute. Kids, what can you say? Yeah, so that's the reading. So the month of August has some interesting energy. There's a lot to work with here. I think that it really is a month in which things are they're going to change. They're going to change. And so there's just going to be a few moments where things are going to feel unclear and maybe slightly unstable, but I want you to know that. And it's not something to have a deep fear over. It's something to remember that nothing is certain. Change is always possible. And so when we change, there are things that are going to, again, like turn upside down. And that's okay. So we want to work with the energy. So a couple of the little extra things that came to me as I was doing the reading were this. So the crystal that popped up for me was opalite. I actually don't really work with opalite a lot, but it just came to me. And so it's a stabilizer, an emotional kind of stabilizer. So it helps you find that emotional clarity and just, again, that groundedness. And so I think that's really beautiful for the month of August because there is a bit of this up and down, things that are unclear or, kind of maybe backtracking just a little bit. So that's a really beautiful crystal to work with. And I also received a message around rose essence, whether you have like a rose spritz or like an oil that has the essence of rose, or you're working with a little bit of the essence in a tea. It felt very nourishing to the energetic body. And so working with the essence of rose, coming back to lilac, again, it's this balancing, this restoration. So I know I mentioned kind of this reprieve, but using lilac to once again find that harmony, that recalibration with your emotional state or even your environment. So maybe bring in some fresh lilacs to your house or include that picture on your 5 pieces. And I also received a vision around the sparrow. And so the sparrow to me is a vision of hope. And it really is able to make, I don't know, something out of nothing. That's really how I visualize the sparrow. They are collectors and crafters, and they really can create something with very little. And so to me, they are just this vision of hope that no matter how small things can feel and look, there's always resources. You are always guided, and there is always support. So those are the messages. And then I take that back. I pulled one card. I was going to say 2 cards, but I only pulled one card. And the second card just flew out. So the first card that I'm going to talk about is the card that actually flew out when I was shuffling the deck. And that is the King of Wands. And so the King of Wands is very, very stable in his vision. And his leadership is compassionate and grounded, but yet strategic. And wands are a source of fire and it's very directed. So just thinking about that, like that directed energy, that passion to move forward and being grounded and compassionate as you move through the ups and downs and the challenges. So remember the King of Wands. And the card that I actually pulled for you was the 4 of Cups. And when I was doing the reading, the number 4 and the number 15 kept coming up for me. So it could be August 4th, it could be August 15th. Those felt like good days. And so the 4 of Cups was the card that I picked. And once again, this card is saying that maybe you have this kind of energy leak and maybe you're overlooking something. And so maybe it's requiring you to, once again, as I mentioned, shift and make a perspective change. And so that might mean that you need to go to a different environment in order to see what you have overlooked. But the solution is close by. It is close by. And so again, this step by step, it's not a complete, reordering or rework. It is close, it is near, and frankly, it's probably just right under your nose. And it just might require a little bit of a change in your perspective to see what's already existing in front of you. Okay, that is the month of August. I am sending you so much love and blessings. If you're interested in a soul reading, I am doing my pre-recorded soul readings. And you could expect a little something like this, but it is 100% from your soul and from your room in the Akashic Records. And so we talk about timelines, we talk about questions, that you have about anything specific. And so the pre recorded reading is really an opportunity for me to record the reading and you to revisit it multiple times. We won't actually discuss one on one, but it is an opportunity for you to ask all the questions that you want addressed in the reading beforehand. And I will respond through the reading. And yeah, and I look forward to maybe hearing from you. So I will hopefully catch you on the next episode. All right. Bye, friends. Thank you, love, for being here. May you walk forward guided by the wild wisdom of your soul and the truth of your heart. To find me beyond the podcast, you can join my newsletter at soulbabe.com for continual updates on offerings and other teachings, or subscribe to the Gracefully Wild Soul Substack. Until next time.